Yes. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this sixth webinar by AgriFrontier Growth Hub. So we'll start off by a quick round of introduction between myself and my colleague in Ziria. So my name is Penina Marura. I'm the Growth Hub Manager with AgriFrontier Growth Hub. It's a pleasure to meet you and to welcome you to this webinar, and I look forward to a fruitful engagement. Okay, I'll start off with an introduction about AgriFrontier. So AgriFrontier was established over 10 years ago to provide specialized consulting services for agribusinesses. So we provide these services to companies in sub-Saharan Africa. So we have experiences of different areas in Africa. This includes Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, Ethiopia, Ghana, Zambia, and South Sudan. So our experience ranges from helping enterprises with improve their accounting processes. This is for a company that has operation in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania. We also helped with screening deals for an investment firm. We have also helped with the farm viability assessment for farm units here in Kenya. And we also helped with reviewing and developing business plans and financial model for various companies in Kenya, Malawi, and Tanzania. So AgriFrontier has offices in 3 regions, which is AgriFrontier UK, AgriFrontier East Africa, and AgriFrontier West Africa. So AgriFrontier mainly provides the following services. We provide consulting services, which include feasibility study, valuation, development, strategic plan development, financial modeling, commercial due diligence, and we also help with restructuring and turnaround. We also help with investment advisory. This includes fundraising and investor readiness support, and we also help with pipeline development for PE funds and venture capitalists. We also have a HR and executive recruitment department, which basically helps with the recruitment of talent within the agribusinesses that we support. We also help with development of talent strategies and also help with board services. So we have partnered with CropNuts, who provide us with agronomic support. This includes soil testing, water and environmental testing, food safety testing, and agronomy training support. So because our services are bespoke, we try to incorporate most of these elements into both our business plan and financial models as we help with the investment readiness journey. Next slide. So over the years, we found out that most of the SMEs that we support are unable to get the services that we do provide. So with this, we sought for grant services so that we can support, we can subsidize our support. So with this, that's when the Growth Hub was developed. So we launched the Growth Hub in October 2022. So basically, the Growth Hub has a name of supporting enterprises that are in the missing middle. These are enterprises that have revenues of a minimum of 150,000 USD to about 5 million USD. So we have structured our support process in 3 phases. Essentially, all the services that AgriFrontier Growth Hub provides, now we have broken down into 3 phases, which includes the pre-funding support, fundraising support and post-fundraising support. Next slide. In the pre-funding support, this is essentially helping enterprises with investment readiness by guiding them on the development of their different business strategies so that we can promote their organic and sustainable growth. So some of the things we do here include business planning and financial modeling development, strategic plan development. We also help with market research, essentially to help our companies identify the different niche within the market that they should target and how they can penetrate those markets. So we also provide mentorship and coaching, and also do provide some corporate governance as to ensure that the company has the right systems within themselves. And we also provide AgTech advisory and financial management services, which is in the financial management, this is one of informed today's webinar about optimizing efficiency, essentially as a business. The next thing we support is the fundraising support. This is essentially we support enterprises with either raising debt or equity, and also grant. We have added grant into this. So with this, we we develop a capital raising plan, and also identify different interested investors, and also do now contact different investors that might be interested in your business, and also help with advising on the terms, structure, and also preparing enterprises with their due diligence until the close of the deal. After fundraising, we go a step further in helping these businesses operationalize the strategies that the business have. This is essentially how we do this is one, by doing a gap analysis, either by identifying whether the company has like staffing needs or talent that they may require to operationalize the plan. So we help with the recruitment of the team that will implement the plan. And we also help go a step further with operational support, and also with mentorship and coaching. So, for this, we are in all the agribusiness value chains, whether the company is in agribusiness, is in input processing, or in agtech. And for this, we look at enterprises that have accounts, audited accounts for at least 2 years, and must have been operational for at least 3 years. And at this point, I'd like to welcome my colleague Nzilia, who will take us through the cost of maximizing efficiency. This is by cost optimization and financial management strategies. Welcome, Nzilia.
Thank you so much, Benina. Yeah, so once again, welcome to this webinar, where we'll be discussing maximizing efficiency through cost optimization and financial management strategies. I will be your facilitator, and I think we can get started. Yeah, so just to outline the structure of how the webinar will be conducted, we'll begin by introducing an introduction, where we will be trying to understand the meaning of cost optimization, the meaning of financial management, and how the two concepts or terminologies are interlinked. And then we will look at the importance of cost optimization and financial management for businesses. After which we'll try to dive deeper to have an analysis of, when you talk about cost optimization, what exactly does it mean for a business? And then we'll look at the process or the step of conducting a cost optimization in your organization, and some of the strategies, some of the common strategies that our businesses employ towards the same. We will look at local examples of Kakuzi PLC and Twiga Foods as well. And then we will dive into now financial management strategies for cost optimization, particularly which areas in financial management strategies should be addressed for cost optimization or for strengthening the financial situation of the organization. And then lastly, we'll look at an example of how the two cases of Kakuzi PLC and Twiga Foods have implemented financial management strategies for cost optimization. And lastly, we will share with you some of the tools and resources that organizations need to be aware of when they are going about cost optimization and developing financial management strategies. So with that understanding in mind, allow me to jump into the introduction. Yeah, just to give an overview of the agriculture sector, just to build context for the reason as to why we are talking about cost optimization and financial management. We do understand that agriculture is the largest contributor towards economic development in the sub-Saharan region. And it accounts for at least 15% of the gross domestic produce continentally. And it also employs about 60% of the labor force and contributes about 75% of the domestic trade in the continent. So that just highlights how important agriculture is, and how businesses operating in that space can probably take advantage of the opportunities that currently present in the sector. Just to tie that overview with what is currently happening in the world, there was a statistic that was done by World Bank, which estimates that come 2050, the world will be reaching a population of about 9 billion people, which means food security will become an issue for so many people. And for that reason, there's a need for agribusinesses or businesses in the space of agriculture to try and make themselves better towards contributing towards closing this gap of food security that is looming. At the same time, looking at some of the statistics that have been thrown around the same, they say the food market has the potential of, has an estimated market value of about $1 trillion, which means that businesses or agribusinesses in this space are more likely to benefit from this market opportunity if obviously they get their operations in place and they're able to look for ways to maximize their profits and provide value to the continent. So with this understanding in mind, with the looming issue of food security, climate change, and all that, and every other business trying to go green, then it necessitates businesses to have a deeper understanding of the importance of cost optimization for their businesses and working around financial management strategies. So when we talk about cost optimization, what exactly do we mean? So cost optimization ideally is the process of trying to reduce on what the business is spending most of its money on, but at the same time ensuring that you're improving or you're maintaining the desired level of performance or efficiency. So when you talk about cost optimization, it is not minimizing expenses at the cost of maybe the quality of your produce or the quality of your services. It is minimizing expenses, but at the same time making sure that your output or your quality or your services and products are of high quality. And then when you talk about financial management, we mean the process of a business just trying to think around its finances and coming up with ways of controlling how that money is utilized, ideally with the goal of making sure that the business is able to achieve its goals. So financial management is quite a wide topic, but ideally when you hear about financial management, concepts like resource allocation, investments, risk management will come into play. And then we need to understand why is cost optimization and financial management, why are they important, and what is it that sort of like brings them together. So cost optimization, the relationship between cost optimization and financial management can be described as one that is entwined or interlinked, because when you talk about cost optimization, we are trying to come up with ways of minimizing expenses, but at the same time, financial management now comes in to bring in the tools or the resources to support this cost optimization process. So these two sort of like go hand in hand, and financial management really is a concept of interest when we talk about cost optimization, because it now brings out what we see big companies like Kakuzi and Twiga Foods putting in place to be able to realize their expansion and growth. So why is it important for us to understand cost optimization and financial management, or rather, why is it important for businesses to understand cost optimization and financial management? So number one, there's the issue of profit maximization. So obviously for any business that is providing value to customers, there's the element of remaining profitable. And we all know that a business that manages its expenses well is able to experience or it's able to record very high profits, or have high profit margins, because it has really minimized on its costs. And this concept is particularly, or this advantage is particularly important in markets where there's very high competition, which means even if you have to play around with the prices of your products, there's really nothing much that you can do, because it's like the market has already decided on the price. You have very little control over that. So the only other option for you to tweak your way to grow the profits is now looking at minimizing your expenses. And then there's the issue of resource allocation. So obviously, once you have run around your numbers and realize that there are ways that you can minimize your expenses, then you're not just doing that for the sake of it. You're obviously looking to put this money that has been saved, or these resources that have been saved, to probably another area that is much more demanding, like probably marketing or training of your internal staff. And you'll find this concept of resource allocation, particularly businesses that are not so very well developed would go with this option, because at the end of the day, it might be challenging for them to either fundraise or go public because of the nature of their size. So they might want to think around resource allocation to ensure that those areas and those departments within the business that are lacking in terms of financing or resources, they're able to reallocate it to those areas for cost optimization and financial management. And then there's the aspect of financial stability. Yeah, so obviously, when you're able to minimize your costs and you're able to plan and control how the finances within your organization is being spent, then that means you have sort of like a control over the financial health of your business, which basically means in case of any unforeseeable events, let's say like COVID or the Ukraine war, which really cut down on, which really saw businesses take a downturn. then it comes in handy because now you're able to know how much money do I have within my company, and how can I spend it wisely in the event that such predicaments befall the world or the organization at large. And then there's the advantage of adaptability. Obviously, when you're working with cost optimization strategies and doing financial management within your business, then that means you're more responsive to any changes or fluctuations in the market, be it from the change in the demand from consumers, be it changes from regulatory requirements, be it changes from unforeseeable events. When you have strategies around cost optimization and financial management, that means you're adaptable. You can take any hit or any force as it comes to your business. Lastly, there's the aspect of sustainability. So if I may dive a little deeper on that. So as at now, there's the agenda of every business going green, and investors are becoming more interested in businesses that are taking on or highlighting aspects of environment, social, and governance in their day-to-day operations. So the aspect of sustainability is achievable through cost optimization, because of cost optimization and financial management, because you'll find if you're able to minimize probably on something like the waste that you're generating as a business, then you're able to reduce on your cost, and then you're able to contribute to the aspect of environment being less polluted, or being less being less polluted from either the greenhouse gas emissions or from the dumping of probably the packaging materials that you use as a business. Now, we have a good understanding of why cost optimization is important, but what do we mean when we talk about cost optimization really? So the way to look at this is in two prongs. So number one, you have to understand the cost structure of the business. And number two, you have to look at the drivers of these individual costs. So when you're looking at the cost structure of the business, there are two things that we need to bear in mind. So there's the categorization of the different costs, and then there's the behavior of the costs with regards to changes in the level of production within an organization. So when you talk about categorization of the costs, then number one, you'll find two categories. Number one being the direct costs. So these are costs that are associated with the production of a specific good or service that you're offering as a business. And then there's a good example is raw materials. For example, if you're planting avocado in large scale, you might incur a cost in probably purchasing the seedlings or purchasing the fertilizer, which now is an example of a direct cost for your business. Number two is the indirect costs or the overhead costs. So these costs are not necessarily associated with the production of your produce, but they're important for the business. For example, you need to pay rent, you need to have water, electricity, you need to pay salaries, and probably have insurance covers for your workers. In as much as this does not directly translate to the produce of the production of your goods or service, but at the end of the day, these are very mandatory, sort of like for you to be able to remain operational. And then now, when you look at the aspect of the behavior of the cost in relation to the changes in the level of production, then we arrive at two types of costs. So number one is the fixed costs, which basically they remain constant, probably throughout the production cycle or probably throughout the years of operations. And a good example would be an annual software subscription. So let's say, for example, an agribusiness company is leveraging on a farm management platform. So it might have to be paying a specified fee every other month or every other year to be able to access that knowledge. And then the other one is variable costs. So such type of a cost will obviously differ or keep changing depending on the level of production or the level of sales within an organization. A good example is direct labor. So let's assume you have increased your production of Hass avocados to probably 3 tons a month from probably 1 ton a month. Then that means you'll have to be paying more casual laborers to support you probably in the sorting, the packaging, and the loading of the Hass avocado for sale or for shipment. And then these other two, I will know how to classify them, but it's just important to understand that they exist in your understanding of the cost structure. So that being the semi-variable costs or the mixed costs. So they have both an element of being fixed and variable at the same time. And then there are non-operational expenses. So this type of costs, they're not really related to the production or the overall operations of the company, but they are as a result of external factors, like for example, taxes. Yeah, the government requires you to pay taxes from carrying out your operations. Also, interest expenses, bank charges, foreign exchange gain or loss. Yeah, so, foreign exchange loss, that will be another example of an operational expense that a business you might incur. And in understanding of cost optimization, you might need to bear this in mind as you look at your cost structure. So we have discussed how to go about understanding the cost structure of your business, the different types of costs and what they mean. Then now have to look at the cost drivers. So cost drivers ideally are factors that will determine how much of the identified costs you're going to incur. And it is important to understand these drivers because they will help you in now doing the cost analysis and decision-making around costs, because they go hand in hand. So among the most common cost drivers, number one would be the volume of production or sales. So obviously, if you're an exporter of maybe agricultural produce. So the more you produce, the more cost you will incur in terms of either the direct costs or the indirect costs. Yeah, and then there's the issue of the labor hours or the workforce size. So this would be another cost driver because at the end of the day, as you're working about expanding your business probably to other regions or other counties, you will incur this cost just to take care of the operations to ensure that you're providing quality produce or quality services to your potential customers. And then there's the issue of process complexity. So this will probably vary with the nature of the business. So obviously there are businesses that the operations are more complicated or sophisticated than others. So for those whose operations are more complicated or sophisticated, they might require to invest more on additional resources, which means they will incur an extra cost. And then there's the issue of technology and automation. So unlike these other cost drivers, technology and automation turns out to be, a unique one, because for these other ones, they are probably driving the costs high. But for technology and automation, it is sort of like doing the opposite, because you will incur probably an upfront cost to maybe set up come up with a platform, probably that connects farmers, if you're into agri-food markets, technology and all that. And then after that, once all that is set, then you won't have to incur probably much higher costs as you go on. And then there's the issue of location and facilities. So obviously geographical regions where probably a business is based would be a determinant in terms of how much cost it incurs. And also the issue of facilities, facilities or amenities. So probably good road networks, access to means of transport, like other means of transportation, like probably sea or air, would be a determining factor in terms of how much cost a business would be incurring in running its operations, assuming it's dealing in exportation. Lastly, there's the regulatory compliance aspect. So yeah, so this is more influenced or determined by the political atmosphere as well as the economic status of a country. So for example, I will use the example of online content creators. I saw the other day the president was proposing that online content creators should be paying a tax of 15%, but I think under the new finance bill, it's been reduced to 12%. So this obviously will be a cost driver for these content creators, because they'll be more focused on now probably trying to still maintain their high revenues while at the same time having enough money to pay the government what they owe it. Also on that note, there's the issue of permits, licenses, and certifications. So this probably would change from time to time, depending on policies or new global standards that would necessitate such changes within the industry. So we have dissected what cost optimization really is all about, and we have highlighted that you first of all need to understand the cost structure and what are the drivers of this specific cost. But if as a business you are to carry out a cost, if you are to look at your business and try to optimize on its costs, how would you probably go about it? So the number one step that you would take is you would look at the cost structure in the business and identify what are the drivers of this specific cost. I think that is part of what I have discussed previously, and understanding cost optimization. And then the second thing you will do is you will thoroughly examine each of these cost elements to just identify how much am I spending probably to buy fertilizer or to buy seeds, and then is it necessary for me to spend this much amount of money on this cost? And if I were to probably minimize or reduce my expenses on this seeds or fertilizer, what areas, how would I go about it, or how would I come up with ways of reducing it? So after examining each cost element, bearing in mind its value, its necessity, and potential areas of optimization, then you will want to sort of like come up with strategies or further dive deep on the opportunities to save on those specific costs, and then come up with strategies to reduce those costs. And then once you have identified these opportunities and set up a strategy around it, then you'll want to list them in order of priority. So obviously there are those cost-saving opportunities that would be very significant on the books or on the financial statements of the organization. So you would want to prioritize such cost-saving opportunities, while at the same time bearing in mind the complexities around the complexities that would be involved in terms of going around the same. And then after prioritizing which opportunities you want to take on first, then you will jump into implementation based off the strategies that you had suggested for yourself. And then once you have implemented this cost saving or cost optimization strategies, the next thing is to slowly monitor, evaluate, and review the outcomes of the outcomes of the strategies, just to make sure that you are achieving effectiveness and making room for any refinements or adjustments along the way. So the next thing we're going to discuss is what are some of the most common strategies for cost optimization. So obviously there are so many ways of going about cost optimization, but I decided to dwell on these 5 because they wrap around most of the other strategies, and they're the most common ones that businesses would prioritize on. So number 1 is process optimization. So basically, as an agribusiness or as a business in the agriculture sector, we'd want to look at your processes internally and see areas where you're experiencing challenges or there's a lack or ineffectiveness. And then you might want to employ aspects of technology adoption. For automation, you might want to standardize some processes or reorganize the workflow processes within the organization. So basically, the goal is to make sure that the operations process is streamlined or smooth, just to ensure that you're still delivering quality to your customer, while at the same time making sure that whatever strategies that you're putting in place, they are not hurting your finances. So when you go full throttle on process optimization, then it comes with so many advantages. For example, number 1, you would experience more, your customers will be more satisfied in terms of how you provide, in terms of probably the quality of your services. And also when you optimize your internal processes, you're guaranteed that the quality of your output is top-notch. And if the quality of your output is at its best, then it makes you more competitive in the market. And then there's the issue of there's the strategy of inventory optimization. So this basically touches on businesses that deal with agricultural produce. So we have interacted with businesses that have their finances or their cash flow trapped in inventory. So you find a business would want to probably diversify its line of products or expand, but because it bought too much inventory or it bought too much stock, it's not able to have money to even finance its day-to-day operations. So as a cost optimization strategy, businesses need to make sure that they're striking a balance in terms of what do they have in stock, and just looking at what they have in stock, is it enough to meet the demand from potential customers? So just to make sure that you're avoiding any losses or losing out on customers because you're not able to fulfill on an order because you did not manage your inventory well. The other strategy around cost optimization is strategic sourcing. So unlike the normal way of sourcing, whereby as a business you want to work with the most, for lack of a better word, the most cheapest of suppliers, because you don't want to incur too much cost. With strategic sourcing, you're being very, very, very wise. So not just sourcing from any other supplier, you're making sure that you sort of like strike a good rapport with this supplier, so that and the supplier has to be in line with the objectives or the goals of your business, so that you're able to enjoy benefits of economies of scale. They probably provide you with a much more favorable pricing, and because you've already built a good relationship with them, then that means you won't have to worry about any supply chain risks, because you can trust them, you're doing good business with them, and they know and they believe in the values and the goals that your business stand for. So it goes beyond just mere exchange of goods. It incorporates the aspect of having that good business relationship that is forged on a long-lasting ground. Another strategy for cost optimization is data-driven decision making. This one is very, very critical for any business, because with data, you're able to make accurate, not necessarily accurate, but you're able to make decisions based off evidence and facts. And I don't think there's any other better way to decide on something than deciding on something which has facts and evidence to back that up. So yeah, data-driven decision making pretty much eliminates the biasness and the blindsidedness that an entrepreneur would have in terms of dealing with probably whatever is happening in the sector that they're operating in. But data makes it easy for them to just clearly see what is happening in that specific sector, and it helps them make informed decision towards either investing or improving the efficiency, just to take advantage of either the opportunities that are available in the market, or to hedge themselves against any potential risks that may be there in the market. And then lastly is the strategy of lean methodology and continuous improvement. There's a whole broadness towards lean methodology, but in a nutshell, lean methodology is a concept that sort of like pushes for waste minimization within an organization. And obviously, this is not something that you achieve overnight, or you do it once and you're like, it's done. No, it's something that you have to continuously work on. So every other day you're looking through your business, analyzing the processes and identifying any specific challenges, and providing solutions or ways in which these challenges identified can be tackled, just to make sure that your process is streamlined, just to make sure that the resources within the organization are being utilized optimally. So as you think around cost optimization for your business, you want to wrap your head around waste elimination or waste minimization from the word go. And it's waste elimination or waste minimization does not just touch on the packaging materials that maybe a business uses. It touches on other elements like the operation processes within the organization, the resource allocation, and all that. So having discussed in details what cost optimization is and financial management, its importance, how to go about it, and some of the strategies that a business can employ, it's about that time we have a look at some of the local examples and optimization strategies that they have employed in their operations. So I'll start with Kakuzi. Kakuzi is a publicly listed company that deals in cultivation and processing of tea, avocado, macadamia nuts, and I'm sure there are like two other value chains that they deal in, but these are the major ones. So being a large-scale processor of tea, producer and processor of tea, avocado, and macadamia nuts, Kakuzi has employed technology adoption as product optimization, process optimization strategy, basically to leverage on agricultural technologies like precision farming. So with precision farming, ideally what happens is a business is, an enterprise is leveraging on aspects of probably satellite imagery and machine learning to be able to detect the health of a crop or the nutritional needs of the crop. So they're able to know when to probably apply fertilizer or when to water the produce, which basically will now improve their crop productivity. And this aspect of technology adoption, particularly precision farming, we do realize that in this era of climate change, agriculture contributes about 19 to 29% of the greenhouse gas emissions through just the activities around it. Yeah, so businesses want to be very particular in terms of how they're going about their production processes, just to make sure they are not emitting too much of the greenhouse gases, like for example CO2 and methane, probably from the utilization of too much fertilizer, or usage of certain types of acids. So, and also the concept of resources being scarce. By leveraging on technology for farming, a company like Kakuzi is able to contribute towards minimizing the effects of greenhouse gas, the effects of climate change, because it is aware that the resources are scarce and they need to be utilized in a way or in a manner that they can be, in a manner that the business remains sustainable and ethical. And then there's also the strategy of efficient farm management. So having adopted technology through precision farming, then obviously they're able to now farm better or manage their farming processes better, because they can now know how best to utilize the land they have. They can take on farming practices like crop rotation, which is an example of a sustainable farming practice. And then they can better they can better irrigate their produce, which they can better irrigate their crops, which means they're not wasting water. They're only irrigating the plants when it's necessary, probably from the data that a satellite imagery or a machine learning model would provide them with. So this would allow them to, of course, optimize on their resources and minimize wastage, all these which are contributing positively towards climate adaptation and minimizing climate change, which is what investors and other stakeholders are more inclined to look at when supporting such businesses with funding. And then another example is Twiga Foods. Yeah, so we know Twiga Foods is an agri-tech company that links small-scale farmers to urban retailers through its online platform. And as an aggregator or as an ag-tech company, Twiga Foods has to be very big on data for decision making. Yeah, so to be able to understand, to be able to even plan for its future, or plan how to manage or handle its resources, a cost optimization strategy of data for decision making is very critical for Twiga, because it will help it in forecasting its demand, plan around its logistics, just basically to optimize again on the resources that it has, reduce on wastage, and plan around its supply chain management. So we have exhausted everything under cost optimization, but now we want to see, because we said cost optimization and financial management are linked or are entwined. And we said, while cost optimization, basically we're looking at minimizing our expenses, but at the same time maintaining or improving on our performance, then financial management comes in handy to now provide us with the tools and the resources to be able to effectively carry out cost optimization. So we are going to discuss financial management strategies for cost optimization, or basically financial management strategies that need to be looked into, if necessary, strengthened, so as to ensure it impacts our cost optimization initiatives. So before I dive into this, maybe I can just give not really a recap, but let me just mention that in our previous webinars, we have covered in details aspects of financial management in our financial modeling webinar, and also in our how to develop a bankable business plan. We have discussed this aspect of financial management. So you might want to also check out those two webinars just to reinforce what we're going to learn under this subtopic. So when we talk about financial management for cost optimization, so there are very specific strategies or areas around financial management that any business needs to look into. Yeah. Number one being financial planning and forecasting. So obviously, as a business in operation, you need to have a plan around how you're going to achieve both your long-term and short-term goals. And this involves probably having a strategy document or a business plan in terms of how you plan to, or in terms of how you will go about achieving the set objectives or goals. And then there's also the issue of now incorporating aspects of revenues, expenses, and cash flow, just to project how a business or your business is expected to perform in the future. So for you to be able to realize cost optimization, you might want to start with doing the financial planning and forecasting, which, like I've mentioned, is basically having long-term and short-term goals and tying that to numbers which are projected in terms of what is expected of what the future looks like for the business. And when you're thinking around financial planning and forecasting, it is not a document that is cast on stone, or they're not documents or templates that are cast on stone. You have to keep revisiting them to update them, just so that they can reflect any changes in the circumstances or any changes in the market that the business is operating in. So by regularly updating these two documents to reflect what is currently happening in the market or the circumstances of the business, then you're able to make better decisions as a business for financial stability. Secondly, you need to look into how you're managing your cash flows for you to be able to come up with cost optimization initiatives. So basically, under cash flow management, you're trying to look how is money coming into the business and how is money flowing out of the business. And the reason as to why you're looking at this cash flow management is for you to be able to understand or know your ability to meet your financial obligations. and where necessary take on growth opportunities, probably from investments and all that. So you need to ensure that your cash flow positive, yeah. And for you to make sure that your cash flow positive, obviously you want to make sure that you're getting more revenues, or you're getting more financing from external parties, either debt or equity, depending on the risk profile of the company. Minimizing on cash outflow through probably expenses, investments, and servicing debt if you have any commercial loans with you. Yeah, so when you maximize on the inflows and minimize on the outflows, you're able to know the financial situation that you're at as a business, which will definitely inform your decision making, either to probably expand to other regions or diversify on your products, or alternatively streamline your processes internally to ensure that you're doing away with any activities that are cutting on the revenues. The other aspect under financial management is cost control, of which it's more or less similar to cost optimization, but now we are wrapping in the financial management aspect to it. So obviously you want to manage and minimize your expenses as a business to remain profitable, to remain cash flow positive, and you'll probably come up with the necessary initiatives around that. But now financial management now brings in the practical aspect of it through now coming up with a budget and setting targets in terms of what you want to probably make in terms of revenue at the end of the year, how much expenses you expect to incur in the course of that particular year. So when you come up with a budget and you're able to track the expenses as well as the revenues generated, you find that as a business, you have more control of the cost activities within your business, and you remain adaptable towards any changes that might hit the business. And just like under financial planning and forecasting, you need to continuously review and adjust any cost control measures that you have put in place, just to make sure that you are aligned with what is happening to the market that the business is operating in. And then there's the issue of profitability analysis. So this is very important because as we discussed earlier, one of the advantages, one of the reasons or importances of us understanding cost optimization and financial management is for profit maximization. So as a financial management strategy for cost optimization, then we need to look into our profitability as a business. So basically, we're trying to identify in this list of products that we offer the market, which ones are giving us, which ones are generating more revenues or giving us high profit margins as a business, and which ones are giving us low profits, and what can we probably do about it? Can we maybe change our pricing strategy? Can we maybe blend that specific product or match that specific product with another one so that it equally sells better in the market? Yeah. So under profitability analysis, you're more focused on maximizing value for your shareholders, because if you remain profitable, or if you identify areas that are profitable for your business, or areas that are making the business not so profitable, then it becomes very important for you in terms of decision making, either to revamp the whole revenue streams for the business, or to enhance the ones that are doing better, or merge the ones that are not performing so well with the ones that are doing better. Yeah, also under financial management strategies, there's the aspect of investment and capital allocation. This is very important because yes, you have come up with ways of saving all this money or minimizing on all these costs. And you remember we talked about transferring probably the resources that you have saved, or the finances that you have saved, to other more demanding areas or sectors in your department. But how do you solidify, or how do you go about now reinvesting these resources, or reallocating them in a manner that ensures the business profits the most? So when we talk about investment and capital allocations, there's a lot that goes into this, because just looking at this department, this marketing department, it needs $2 million to grow. You're looking at other aspects, like if I invest this 2 million, if I remove this 2 million from maybe raw materials and invest it in marketing, or invest it in a machine that will probably make the production process faster, how much am I supposed to expect in terms of returns? And then there's also the issue of cash flow implications. So obviously, if you're investing in probably a new project, your finances will be impacted, and how will that reflect in terms of the profitability and the company generally meeting its financial obligations. Also, to tie on the project returns, there's the issue of the payback period. You want to be very certain in terms of if I put my money in this maybe property or this plant, after how many years am I going to reap the benefits, because that will inform your decision on whether you're going to invest in that project or not. And also there's the aspect of risk assessment. The common term around that is, they say the higher the risks, the higher the return. But that concept has to be internalized well by the business before taking on any new project, because it will inform how either the financial resources are allocated or invested into that specific product or project. So ideally, when you're looking at investment and cost allocation, there are so many concepts that go into it. Like, for example, the time value of money, basically looking at the after-tax, discounting back after-tax cash flows, after-tax future cash flows to present values, just to be able to see to it that just to be able to assess if you take on this specific project, or if you take on this specific task that is more financially involving, then the business is able to have a positive return on the same. Then there's the issue of financial risk management. Yeah, so obviously, in going about the daily operations of a business, an element of cost optimization through a financial management strategy of assessing the risk and managing it becomes very important, because financial risks can have a negative impact on the cash flows of the business, or even the operations of the business, because at the end of the day, you want to remain profitable, you want to remain stable financially, you want to expand, you want to grow. But if you do not address these issues of risk, And in addressing these issues of risk, obviously now the cost optimization aspect comes into it. Then you might find yourself struggling to remain profitable. So among the most common risks in the market would include like market volatility. So this would be more common, particularly if the business is dealing in exports, because there's the issue of probably the prices changing from the fluctuation of the exchange rate, or the issue of the trading using different currencies. Another risk could be credit risk, and we will look at this one when we cover the application of examples of financial management strategies for the two companies that we had looked at earlier, Twiga Foods and Kakuzi PLC. And then another risk would be liquidity risk. Basically, this highlights how a business is able to meet its financial obligation. So when you identify that you have a risk, or you identify that you're not able to meet your financial obligations, then cost optimization strategies then come in handy. And then there's the risk of operations. So this would probably relate to supply chain, internal processes and all that. So as a financial management strategies, when you look into risk, financial risk management, you're able to identify these risks and now think around how best to address them, or how best to deal with them without necessarily disrupting the operations of the business, or looking at the long-term success of the business. And then lastly is on financial reporting and analysis. So this is a very key aspect of financial management strategy for cost optimization. So what is happening under financial reporting and analysis is, now that you have collected all the numbers from your business, how do you present this information in a manner that it provides insights to either the stakeholders or potential investors? So in financial reporting and analysis, you'd want to prepare the three financial statements. Number one being an income statement, which would communicate the profitability of the business. Number two being a balance sheet, which would communicate the financial position of the business. Number three, a cash flow statement, which will communicate the cash position of the business. So in having these three financial statements, you are then able to carry out or conduct financial analysis, which is basically now critically analyzing the data, the financial data, through either financial ratio analysis, trend analysis, just to highlight aspects of profitability, liquidity, solvency, and the overall financial health of the business. So at the end of the day, you're not preparing this financial report or doing this analysis for yourself alone. This will help you also in terms of communicating to potential investors or stakeholders, like I have mentioned earlier, on how healthy your business is financially, or how it is performing financially. And you will realize that in developing these financial statements, in reporting using and now the financial analysis using the ratio or the trend analysis, you will have incorporated aspects of cost optimization in preparing some of these documentations, or you will highlight some of the cost optimization strategies that the business has put in place in terms of addressing its expenditures. So we're going to look at examples of some of the financial management strategies that both Twiga and Kakuzi have in place. basically to support them in their cost optimization. And for Twiga Foods, there's the strategy of investment and capital allocation. Yeah, so in 2021, Twiga Foods raised, I think around $50 million, if I'm not wrong, in Series C funding. And being an agtech company, yeah, investing in technology and automation is critical for the operations of the business, basically to ensure that its payment processes between the farmers and the retailers are streamlined, to ensure that there are no delays, and just to enhance its cash flow management. So as a financial management strategy around investing and capital allocation, it makes sense for Twiga to put more resources or more money in technology and automation compared to maybe, let's say, hiring more workers. Not to say that it's not important, but the most important one and the most promising in terms of returns would be investing in technology, because for such a company, that is what it's built on, technology. And then there's the issue of risk management. So ideally, being an aggregator or being the sort of like in between person linking the farmers and the retailers, there's the aspect of Twiga not being too familiar with the type of retailers or farmers that it is dealing with. Yeah, so obviously it would want to think around what are the best retailers that I can work with, and what are the other ways of Twiga as a business ensuring that it's not putting all its eggs in one basket. So obviously, yeah, dealing with, as it is often assumed, dealing with agribusinesses or investing in the agriculture sector is high risk. Yeah, so it is only prudent for the likes of Twiga to be more smarter in terms of going around it, by making sure that it's dealing with only retailers who are creditworthy, and when necessary, supporting them with credit insurance from probably third parties, and also diversifying on its customer base, just to make sure that it's cast a wide net to de-risk its operations. On Kakuzi, examples of financial management strategies for cost optimization would be financial forecasting and planning. So as a publicly listed company, so for Kakuzi to even have gone public, definitely it had to, get its financial statements or its books in order. I'm very certain they had prepared a financial model, which they were using to communicate to potential investors. And in preparation of this document, as well as probably having a financial plan, just to demonstrate how they plan to go about their production process, exporting to probably foreign markets, they must have had a well-detailed financial plan to communicate that. And being a company that is thriving, its financial management, its financial planning and forecasting strategies must have been tied to factors like crop yields, market demand, and pricing trends, just to see to it that they are adaptable, or they are more in line to what is happening currently in the market that they're operating in. And just to mention or to just highlight, financial planning and forecasting, can be very important, especially for a business that is looking to fundraise, because at the end of the day, the investor would want to see your financial model just to analyze the numbers and be able to know the sustainability and the scalability of the business before they decide whether they're going to put their money in your business or not. Then there's the aspect of cost control. So obviously, being a company that is more ESG centered, Kakuzi would be very keen to make sure that it's employing cost control measures just to make sure that it is optimizing on its resources. Like, for example, it would want to ensure that its irrigation systems, probably for the avocado or the tea that it is producing, are optimally utilized. It would want to make it, they are optimally utilized so that it's not spending too much and not reaping the benefits of it. And also it would want to look around its supply chain management, because at the end of the day, as a business that is largely dealing with exports, and it has to source for seeds, fertilizers from probably international companies and sell it back to other international companies out there. It might want to think around how best to ensure its supply chain is well managed. And this would tie to what we discussed earlier, having a good relationship with your suppliers or even your customers, just to make sure that they accord you probably better prices to ensure that the business remains in operation, or the business is able to minimize on its costs, and while at the same time make reasonable profits. So we've almost come to the end of this session. So we have looked at what cost optimization is, different ways of going about cost optimization, and how financial management strategies like cash flow management, financial planning and forecasting, financial risk management support the concept of cost optimization. And remember, we said what makes these two sort of like marry is the fact that with financial management strategies, we now have the tools or the resources that support us in realizing cost optimization. So among the most common tools and resources that businesses employ in their cost optimization and financial management strategies are accounting softwares. I know you are all aware or you've heard of QuickBooks. So QuickBooks come in handy in helping businesses manage their finances. For example, if you have like 1,000 vendors that you're dealing with, you would want to keep track of the invoicing, keep track of the expenses, and probably do a little bit of financial reporting. And then there are tools for budgeting and forecasting. Excel is a very useful tool when it comes to building financial models and even coming up with scenario analysis around the same. And then there are also financial analysis softwares. These ones are basically to support businesses in visualizing the financial performance of the business. A good example is Tableau and Power BI. And these ones are very used by businesses that are dealing with big data. And then there are other resources that can support you in cost optimization and financial management, like online banking and payment systems. So for example, if most of us are able to access our M-Pesa statements from Safaricom, so that would provide a business with a way of tracking its cash inflows and cash outflows. And then there are government resources Like, for example, agencies like KRA would support businesses in terms of understanding how best to go about dealing with expenses like taxes, and just providing information around planning for the business. Lastly, there are professional networks and associations that can be very handy in giving information and providing guidelines on how to go about these two concepts. Locally, we have the likes of ICFA and ISPAC. So for certified accountants and certified financial analysts. So yeah, they come in handy in terms of providing access to not just resources, even trainings and experts in the industry to provide one with knowledge around the same. So this marks the end of our webinar. I'd like to take on any questions from our audience. Okay. Okay, I believe that will be it on cost optimization and financial management for maximizing efficiency. I'd like to hand it over to Penina.
Thank you, Twiga, for that wonderful session. To close it up, I'd like to thank you all for joining us during this webinar, and also to highlight our next webinar will be on navigating due diligence, essentially, in investment readiness. Once you have fundraised for your business, now how do you navigate the due diligence process? Other than that, thank you so much for your time. I'll see you next month. Have a good day.